is halfway through January, over halfway through January, and I think this genuinely might be the first time I've talked about any transfer news because there's been so much else going on. But for Chelsea's first big story of the winter window, are we looking at someone who is going to come in and impact the team straight away, or another young diamond in the rough? Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And today, like I say, we're going to talk about transfer news, man. Specifically, we're going to talk about Jacquet of Stade Rennes, the 20-year-old French defender who, if Maresca would have waited around a little bit longer, would have got the defender that he wanted to get. But guys, before we get into it, if you are enjoying the content and would like to see more, please do me the distinct honour of liking and sharing the video, subscribe to the channel, or just roast me in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. Right, so Jacquet, 20-year-old French defender, centre-back from Stade Rennes. Alors, so Fabrizio Romano has come out of hiding. It's like Mariah Carey at Christmas, isn't it? The winter window comes around, the summer window comes around, and all of a sudden, Fabrizio Romano is furiously appearing on my phone with several notifications every single day. But over the last few days, there have been ones that have been of more interest to me. So yesterday, Fabrizio Romano posted this on X. Understand Chelsea held direct club-to-club talks with Rennes in the last 24 hours for Jacquet. Jacquet, part of Chelsea's three-men shortlist for January at new centre-back, as they hope to anticipate other top clubs moving on top centre-backs in the summer. So this one blew. I'm trying to figure out the wording a little bit. Basically, what I think he's saying is we want to get in on this now because he's having a good season and looks like he could be a top, more expensive target in the summer. But if the 55 to 57 million price tag is to be believed, looks like we're going to pay a lot for him anyway. And that's probably some of that January tax, isn't it? And today, just before I started recording this video, Fabrizio Romano has dropped another X tweet post thing. I don't even know what you call them anymore. Chelsea have agreed personal terms with Jacquet, the clear main target at centre-back. Contract ready, player keen, and talks ongoing with Rennes, asking for the club record sale of around 65 million euros, which is like that 55 to 57 million pounds. CFC bid currently lower. A mission to France already took place. So, we're in for this guy. We've been looking at this guy. We're getting a centre-back because ultimately we've been relying a little bit too much on the likes of Tosin Adarabioyo and Benoit Badiashile. I am personally quite happy for the rest of the season, at least with a starting centre-back pairing of Wesley Fofana and Trevor Chalobah, or Fofanaba, as I'm maybe going to affectionately refer to the duo from now on. But I think it is fair, like most Chelsea fans, from, since we lost Levi Colwill, Maresca came out in the summer swinging against the ownership, being like, give me a centre-back. They said, no, look internally, whatever. I think it's time. We got a centre-back, do you know what I mean? Obviously, we need to get rid of Axel Disasi. This could potentially pave moves away for Benoit Badiashile and Tosin Adarabioyo as well. So for me, as I've mentioned kind of a little bit already, I think he comes in essentially to compete with Tosin and Badiashile for backup time, because Wesley Fofana is clearly our best centre-back. Trevor Chalobah has 100% been our most consistent, and the mental amount of centre-back pairings that we've had over the season have largely been changing because Tosin Adarabioyo and Benoit Badiashile haven't been able to play consistently. They haven't been able to just be good in long enough stretches without making errors or having good enough performances. Both of them individually have had great performances every now and again. Benoit Badiashile, of course, was really good against Liverpool, and hoped that'd be a turning point for him, but unfortunately not, as he basically gave away a goal at the Aston Villa game. Tosin Adarabioyo has been better since Liam Rosinia came in, but nearly scored an own goal against Brentford, and obviously was absolutely torrid in the Leeds game. So in order to find out, is Jeremy Jacquet going to come in and just smash these guys for a place, or like I said in the intro, is he just another young diamond in the rough? To find out, we're going to play a little game of who's the better baller, and we're going to look at all three of their stats across this season so far to get an idea of, is he good? Is he better than the other guys that we've already got? Or is it, like I say, just another hit and hope that in a few years we can sell him on for a little bit more than we bought him for? So you guys know me. I love a table. I love a graphic. So I've whipped this one up here and pulled their stats in across from who scored in order to have a little look at the profile of the players in particular and who seems to be the better on their best day. And here we have it. So we're going to look at a load of the stats. Obviously, we're going to compare all three of them. I've highlighted in green any stat that has been won by each player, whatever you want to call call it. Do you know what I mean? It's not really all that deep. But let's just get into it, man. So the rating per 90 is WhoScored's overall rating. Now, a lot of these different websites, like SofaScore has its own system, WhoScored has its own system, but we'll start with that one anyway, just based on the stats that have gone into WhoScored for their respective seasons. Jérémy Jacquet has a 6.7, Tosin Adarabioyo has a 6.8, and Benoit Badiashile has a 6.16. So instantly, overall, Tosin's coming out on top, which is, unusual when you kind of go into it and look at the rest of their stats, but at the end of the day, that's not a great start already, is it? He's better than Benoit Badiashile, so maybe that's who he's looking at replacing. Okay, next up, appearances. Jérémy Jacquet has made 16 appearances, and I did look into it. All of those are starts. So he is literally starting every game for his club in France in the league. These are all league stats, by the way. I haven't gone into other competitions. Not even sure if Stade Rennais are in other competitions, but just to keep it fair, we're looking at league only. Appearances. Jérémy Jacquet, 16, all of which were starts. Tosin Adarabioyo, 11, and Benoit Badiashile, 6. So instantly, he comes out on top on that one, and that just says he's being trusted by his manager. He's got experience. I'm not going to say experience in terms of like longevity, but at the end of the day, he is fit enough and trusted enough to play all of these games. We've had a lot of fitness issues with Benoit Badiashile in particular. Tosin Adarabioyo has been out a couple of times with fitness stuff as well. So at least we know that Jérémy Jacquet, if we do go in for him, which is looking more likely, that he is going to be able to play. Okay, so let's just get into the actual proper defensive stats, shall we? Tackles per 90. Jérémy Jacquet comes out on top of this one at 1.56 tackles per 90, 1.18 for Tosin Adarabioyo, and 0.5 for Benoit Badiashile. So instantly, this makes sense to me in terms of what we've heard from Liam Rosinier. He wants his team to be more aggressive and play on the front foot, and Jérémy Jacquet going in for tackles and, as interceptions and stuff we'll get into later, ultimately, he stands pretty clear in front of all of the rest of those guys, right? And this is per 90 as well. A lot of these stats are per 90. Per 90 minutes, he is making the most tackles. Do you know what I mean? It's successfully making the most tackles out of everyone on the team. So already that's a good thing. Interceptions, I realise I've actually just coloured this one wrong. Jérémy Jacquet is making 1.06 interceptions per game, but although I've accidentally coloured that green, he's not the best one. Tosin is making 0.83, and Benoit Badiashile is making 1.17. So Jérémy Jacquet is a lot closer to Benoit Badiashile than he is to Tosin Adarabioyo in that respect, but he's also got the tackling stuff on top of it. So he's a good tackler, he's a good interceptor, not the best interceptor. Benoit Badiashile is the best interceptor. Sorry about the little mistake there. Aerial duels one. This is an interesting one. So Jérémy Jacquet, 1.88 aerial duels one per 90. Tosin Adarabioyo storms out in front of this one with 3.27, and Benoit Badiashile falls quite far behind at 0.5 aerial duels one. So not as adept as Tosin yet, but obviously Tosin's, a bit older, got experience, and taller as well. I think Tosin is, I need to check that one, but I think Tosin is the tallest of the three players that we're looking at. But although he's behind Tosin, he's quite far in front of Benoit Badiashile, probably by about the same margin. So he's smacking between the two of them, but nearly two aerial duels, one per 90 is going to be important when you consider how often we're conceding set pieces at the moment. So that is going to be important. Right, we'll move into the passing stats, right? Now, this is kind of always an interesting one, I think, because obviously when Enzo Maresca was looking for a centre-back, he was looking for a centre-back who could play that passing Maguba role that Levi Colwill played. Do you know what I mean? That centre-back. But with Liam Rosinier, maybe he's looking for something different. Jérémy Jacquet has an overall pass accuracy of 90.96%, Tosin Adarabioyo at 90.55, and Benoit Badiashile, and this, totally makes sense, comes out at 93.82. Benoit Badiashile 100% is a really good passer, but it is in the defensive stuff where he kind of falls down. Now, ultimately, Jérémy Jacquet more successful than Tosin in this respect. So, although he's not as good a passer as Benoit Badiashile, already his tackles, his interceptions, and his aerial duels are much better, and his passing accuracy is not so far behind Benoit Badiashile that it's worrying. So, continuing on the passing stuff, right? Attempted long balls per 90. Jérémy Jacquet storms out in front of this one with 5.25 long balls attempted per 90. Tosin Adarabioyo 3.91, Benoit Badiashile 3.83. So that's going to be potentially a big part of how we play. We see it from Robert Sanchez quite a lot at the moment. I think ultimately long-term how Rosinier wants to play, he wants the goalkeeper doing short distribution and the long distribution coming from the centre-back. So Jérémy Jacquet does stand up in that one. Long ball accuracy, 57.14% for Jérémy Jacquet, 46.55 for Tosin Adarabioyo, and 60.84 for Benoit Badiashile. So Benoit Badiashile is making all like 1.5, 2 attempted long balls per 90, and he's getting a marginal amount more success with that. But Jeremy Jacquet is attempting more, and his percentage is pretty good for that as well. Long balls are really, really tough, man. It's getting your long balls into like the 60-70% is like, that's elite numbers. Do you know what I mean? So the fact that he's already up there, that's a good sign. Short passes, short distribution, really important, this one. Jeremy Jacquet, 52.13 attempted short passes per game. Tosin Adarabioyo, 57.64. And Benoit Badiashile, again, quite low at 42. So what we're getting from Benoit Badiashile over this whole thing is his passing quality is really good, but the quantity is quite small. Jeremy Jacquet doesn't win out in this one in terms of attempted passes, but ultimately, I would rather have a few less passes with a lot more accuracy, which is what we get with Jeremy Jacquet, than Tosin Adarabioyo. Even though he's attempting more, he's not nearly as successful. Short pass accuracy, and this is where it all comes across, 94.36 for Jeremy Jacquet, 93.53 for Tosin, and 96.83 for Benoit Badiashile. So the issues, you can see the issues with Benoit Badiashile instantly, can't you? He's a good passer, not a very good defender, and ultimately not actually, like I say, his quality of passes is really good, but he's not making very many of them. So that's, we're starting to really paint a picture here. I'm going to go into the disciplinary stuff, and then we'll kind of talk about, in general, how this is panning out. So we'll look at fouls committed per 90, 1.13 for Jeremy Jacquet, 0.45 for Tosin Adarabioyo, and 0.5 for Benoit Badiashile. So you would argue that Tosin is the tidiest footballer in that respect out of these three, but when you go back to the tackles per 90, ultimately Jeremy Jacquet is getting 3 more successful tackles per 90 than Benoit Badiashile, and almost half one more than Tosin Adarabioyo. So it makes sense that Jeremy Jacquet's fouls committed stat is higher, although that's not necessarily a good thing, and we're going to get into this with the rest of the disciplinary stuff. Ultimately, you would expect a player that attempts more tackles and is successful with more tackles to commit more fouls, right? So it just kind of makes sense and shows that Jeremy Jacquet is an aggressive defender, man, and he obviously really hunts down his man. Yellow cards and red cards, man. This one, little bit of a worry just based on the season and the story that we've had so far with our disciplinary stuff. Jeremy Jacquet, 4 yellow cards this season in the league, to 2 from Tosin and Benoit Badiashile, and red cards, he's had 1, whereas Tosin and Benoit haven't had any during the season so far. So again, what that smacks of in general is that he's an aggressive centre-back, man. Do you know what I mean? He's obviously attempting a lot more tackles. He's obviously a bit more aggressive, a bit more robust in that kind of thing. And that is obviously leading to more, not disciplinary issues at the end of the day, but he's just trying more stuff. So he's getting it wrong more often, but ultimately he is like attempting more, and he's successful in more of those tackles as well. So there is a balance there between, yes, he's getting more yellow cards, he's committing more fouls, but ultimately he's winning more tackles than the rest of the guys as well. So that's the stats now. They're basically like 4 apiece, do you know what I mean, in terms of like who comes out on top in each one. If we look going backwards, Benoit Badiashile, obviously, as far as quality goes, the best passer in the team. Tosin Adarabioyo, it kind of makes sense. He's a bit more experienced. He's making less fouls. His passing accuracy is pretty good, but ultimately he's just not quite good enough at anything. There is something to say that Jeremy Jacquet is an interesting mix. He's not the best passer of the 3, but he's got really good passing stats. He's 100%, by the looks of it, the best defender in terms of like tackles and stuff. Do you know what I mean? So he's obviously quite aggressive, like I say, and we are looking for that kind of aggressive player, aren't we? So it's an interesting one, because what I think about in my head, like I say, with the Maresca stuff is Jeremy Jacquet the defender that Maresca would have wanted? I don't think so. I don't think so at all, because his passing stats aren't up there enough. Do you know what I mean? You're not looking at this guy being like, he's going to play in the centre of the 3, the back 3 kind of thing. But what it does look like I say, is he's kind of been brought in to defend, man, to make tackles, to win balls back, and with the long balls as well. Maybe that's a case of transitional football a little bit as well. Do you know what I mean? Like he'll go in for a tackle, he'll win it, and then one of his long balls, which he attempts a lot of during a game, can help us start a transition or a counter attack or something like that. So the thing is, what we're not looking at is, yes, get him in right now. He's clearly better, because I think at the end of the day, like, I'm comparing him to Tosin and Badiashile, who are ultimately you know, we think, I would argue the majority of Chelsea fans think is probably not good enough for the team in general. If he gets in, what I might do in the future is, you know, after a few games maybe, is compare him to Trevor Chalobah and Wesley Fofana as well and see how he stands up to our better centre-backs. But just from the profile of him, literally just from the profile, you can kind of see what we're looking at here. Like I say, when Rosinia came in, he was like, I want my team to be passionate and aggressive and on the front foot. Defending has obviously been a big problem for us. His aerial duels are pretty good. Do you know what I mean? Not quite as good as Tosin Adarabioyo, but when you stick it together with everything else, it does kind of make sense. I can see him playing on the left or right side of the back three, essentially. Do you know what I mean? It does kind of make sense to me. And like I say, the long ball thing is really good. So, guys, that's kind of it. What we're not looking at, like I say, is the next Virgil van Dijk or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? Ultimately, he's 20 years old. The fact that his stats are this good now, and bearing in mind as well, this isn't the French league, which is not exactly as strong as the Premier League as well. But what we can see from his stats is he's physical. So Benoit Badiashile, like I say, really good passer, not super physical, and fitness issues. Tosin Adarabioyo has become really error prone, and ultimately, when we got him on a free from Fulham, literally got the guy on a free from Fulham. He was never supposed to come in and play this many games, man. He was always supposed to be an auxiliary centre back. And had we have had Levi Colwill this season with Wesley Fofana coming back, I don't think Tosin would have seen nearly as much game time as he's been getting. Jeremy Jacquet, it's expensive, man. It's a lot of money. Now, that, you know, this is just the stats that I've pulled from Who Scored. At the end of the day, there's going to be a lot more because, you know, Blueco and the model is all about data and comparing all this, that and the other. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, this is just what I consider to be the most basic stats that we're looking for in a defender, in tackling, aerial duels, passing and discipline. That seems to be the most important thing to me. Ultimately, one of the best abilities is availability, right? He's played 16 games. He started 16 games. He's obviously very trusted by his manager at such a young age, so that's a really good thing. We're not just pulling in an academy player or, you know, who's been getting a sniff here and there. You know, we're not getting another 16-year-old from Kazakhstan or Africa. Like, he's definitely been playing football at a reasonably high level, and you would have thought as well, Rosinia has probably seen a bit of him. You know, Strasbourg might have scouted him, for instance, because they will have been playing each other, and with Rosinia being involved in the French league, it does make sense a little bit that we've gone for someone from the French league who Rosinia will have probably had some information about already and will have come up against a few times. So it's a really interesting one, man. Ultimately, I would love to know what you guys think. Is Jeremy Jacquet another diamond in the rough? Is he going to turn into another Disasi, another Benoit Badiashile, or another Tosin Adarabioyo? But, you know, it's just really interesting, isn't it? So that is my episode of Who's the Better Baller, guys. I'm really interested to see what happens when he comes in. Ultimately, I'm happy we're getting someone in because it does look like he could fit the team better, because his defending so much better, but his defending at the moment is the best out of the three, and he is the youngest one in the group as well. So it's interesting, man. It's interesting, but ultimately, what will be, and we're just going to have to see how he does. But if we do see him in a blue shirt, as I am with every player that we've got at the beginning, at least, I will back him, and I hope that he comes in and finds his way in the team, right? Nice one, guys. Thanks for sticking around until the end of the video. If you did, I've got a wicked collab coming up tomorrow with a creator that I'm very, very excited to work with, so keep your eyes peeled for that one. Nice one, guys. I'll catch up with you all very, very soon. Take it easy. Peace.